We met up towards the end of August to set off on a wee bikepacking adventure following the John Muir way from the west coast of Scotland to the east coast, namely Helensburgh to Dunbar. The inscriptions of the monument read, "In every walk with nature one receives more than he seeks," and "Keep close to nature's heart and break clear away once in a while." This is some footage from our 3 days travelling coast to coast, and as you can see we covered some pretty varied terrain on our wee adventure. Anyway, back to the start. Photos taken, we headed off up the hill towards the cycle path, Ballach and Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond is always a joy to behold, and as an added bonus, the sun had made a brief but welcome appearance. There were initially 7 of us who set off from Helensburgh. Graham, Cammy and Dave had invited Stu, Terry, Danny and myself to join them. Stu and Terry were leaving us on the Sunday morning, with Kat joining later on in day 1 and Dell joining us for day 2. I hope you're keeping up here. At this point, Cammy accused me of filming him in the hope that he would have a wee tumble coming off the bank, but I assured him I was hoping to show off his bike skills. In all honesty, it was a bit of both. We scaled a wee steep climb up to Ballach Castle and were rewarded with some lovely views back over the loch. If you're enjoying this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If you'd like to try out any of our routes, you can do so by following me on Strava at Douglas Gilligan RACC or on Commute at Specialised Doug. Weather-wise, it had been one of those Mr. Miyagi days, where he had the rain jacket on, jacket off, jacket on, jacket off. During our first day, we kept crossing paths with this group of Geordie lads who were also doing the John Muir way. This is the hardest part of the route when doing it from west to east, as you can hear from all the heavy breathing. There were a few really muddy, rocky and steep sections here, and the lads did really well to pedal up them. I had to push a couple of times and I felt sorry for Stu, who had only just scraped past a late fitness test on a problematic ankle injury. This was undoubtedly the hardest part of the route, and I found the quite technical inclines were considerably harder with a fully loaded bike.
Well done, lads.
We had a quick stop here at a nice wee viewing point, and I put the drone up to capture some footage of the campsites, but it was pretty windy and she was getting buffeted around a wee bit. After our quick pit stop, we headed through Strathblane and on towards Dumgoyne.
Just came through Strathblent, stopped in the wee bite to eat. Done 28 miles now, it's about 3 hours. All the toughest part coming out of Helensburgh, up and over the top. So you've got to work in that. But I think it's going to be a lot flatter from now on.
How you doing? You alright, my hand? You managed?
Oh. Probably managed better than me. Well, I can't say.
The smooth tarmac of the Forth and Clyde Canal pass was relaxingly welcome, and the polar opposite of the rough terrain we'd navigated in the morning. When we got to Croy, Danny took me up Croy Hill to see Sylvanus, a 6 metre tall sculpture of a Roman soldier. This was commissioned in 2021 to raise awareness of the site of some of the remains of the Antonine Wall. We then met up with Kat, who had joined us towards the end of the first day, and as we were waiting for her, Graham discovered that he had a tyre pressure issue. Tyre fixed and number swelled, we headed to Morrison's for some provisions, mostly water and beer to be honest, before heading back up the canal. We passed the Falkirk Wheel and cycled through the Falkirk Tunnel towards Callander Woods, where we scouted around for a place to camp for the night. This tunnel is in much better condition and very well lit in comparison to some of the others we've been through in this neck of the woods recently. Thankfully Graham and Cammy have honed their eyes over the years and found us a cracking little spot. It wasn't far from a few dog walking tracks but served us very well. Luckily it was dry when we pitched camp and we all got down to cooking some dinner. This is our route and stats for day 1. We cycled from Helensburgh to Falkirk, covering 55 miles with 2,444 feet of climbing. The next day we stopped at a local Tesco, where everyone got happed up against the pretty bleak conditions. We also grabbed some breakfast and some coffee from our favourite caffeine provider. Terry and Stu were well wrapped up as they were heading home, southwest and back into the weather, whereas we were cycling away from it and hopefully towards drier conditions.
Day 2, we're leaving Falkirk. A bit wet and windy. Well, with Dale joining us for the day. Extend along the canal path. Slept not too bad last night. Considered camp and sleep. It's pretty decent. We've done another 50 miles or so today.
As you can see here, the wind was pretty blustery, but it was at our backs, so it was mostly beneficial. When I spoke to Stu and Terry, they had a pretty horrible journey home, which consisted of a lot of climbing and a steady rain which was being blown into their faces from a constant headwind. I quite enjoyed this section where we cycled along the shoreline at Bo'ness and on towards Blackness Castle. This castle is shaped like a boat and is known locally as the ship that never sailed. They have a no drone policy there now, but here is some footage I got when we were there a couple of years ago when the weather was also considerably better. We stopped briefly at the castle and had some Scottish tablet ice cream, which was lovely. We decided to crack on and grab a bit of lunch in South Queensferry. It was a shame that the weather had remained wet, as the three bridges looked stunning in sunshine. At this point I had a bit of a nightmare again, when the Insta360 camera took a tumble and hit the deck. One of the lenses skidded along the road and suffered some quite serious scratches. We stopped for a rather damp lunch under the bridge, and it was a bit of a thought to get started again once we'd cooled down. At this point Dale parted ways and headed for home, while Kat led us into a very impressive network of cycle paths through Edinburgh. I think we probably deviated from the route here, but she said it would be pretty busy on the Canal paths and that her route would save us some time. From my experience here, Edinburgh seems to be way ahead of Glasgow in cycle track provision.
Yeah, perfectly good road.
Not at all. Man, your abilities.
We were getting a bit hungry by this point and tried a restaurant in Longniddry, but they were full, so we decided just to get the heads down and crack on in Gillane. We made it to Gillane and our timing for once was impeccable. We managed to get a table in the old clubhouse, and minutes later people were being told that they were full. We settled down to beers all round, some lovely meals and the second half of the Liverpool game. Again it was a thought to leave the nice warm pub, and as we left a wee old woman told us that we were about to be soaked. This didn't help our spirits, but thankfully her forecasting abilities were right up there with Michael Fish's, and it stayed dry for the rest of the night. We grabbed some provisions and then headed over the dunes, and the thick sand under wheel was quite tricky to negotiate. Thankfully Dave had a soft landing here and avoided the gorse. Continued on through our wood, and the spot Kat led us to was perfect, overlooking the beach and fairly sheltered. We pitched camp, had a couple of beers, watched a lovely sunset and settled down for the night. Danny seemed to be very pleased with his spot, and mine wasn't too shabby either. There was a small swell running, and it was amazing to lie in my tent listening to the waves reaching the shore, and I had a pretty decent night's shot. Our numbers for day 2 were that we cycled from Falkirk to Gillane, again covering 55 miles with a slightly lower elevation gain of 2,044 feet. Thankfully it was dry again the next day when we broke camp and set off over the dunes and through a golf course. This is a sign that we missed, but more of that shortly. I assumed that the course was Gillane, and it was only when I saw the security personnel in the clubhouse that I realised that this was Muirfield.
Let's put the diplomat in front. No Camby, the diplomat. Oh, they were coming to speak to us.
We're on signs at the bottom. No matter what.
We've come through, we were camping at the beach last night.
It doesn't matter. Big signs at the bottom says there's no access to villages. Obviously, they're right on the road. There's no any access.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. Thank you. Day 3, we've just left our camp up on the dunes at Glen, which was brilliant. Cycled through the golf course and heading for a cafe, for another coffee and a wee roll hopefully. Quite lucky it's been dry all morning. Managed to break camp. So happy days.
Kat then led us to a very nice cafe where we got some tasty but rather expensive breakfast, and I think she was attracted to the quality of the toilets, to be honest. We got back on the road and a little closer to the end of our route. With only about 10 miles to go, Kat wanted to stop in North Berwick for ice cream, but was outvoted and we cracked on for Dunbar. At this point, Graham ignored his second sign of the day, this one warning of a dangerous ford, which sounds a bit like some of my early cars, but he crossed this one easily.
No bother, well done.
It's always a pleasure to see Belhaven Bay, as this is one of the beaches where we go surfing. It was refreshing to find Cammy giving the camera a flash here. It's little things like this that confirm to me that the world is not fully broken. We crossed the last 10 miles or so zigzagging through fields, lanes and quiet country roads, and by around midday we were turning right into the main street in Dunbar, where our route ended.
I thought it was there. Well done, Graham, son. Well done. Daniel, son. Dave.
After some fist bumping and photo taking, we headed for the station, but we had just missed the train. With almost an hour to kill, it was a no-brainer. Foaming ales all round. We had a great weekend and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would recommend the route, and if you decide to do it, I hope you get slightly better weather than we did. Our third day was the shortest of the 3, with 19 miles covered and 689 feet of elevation. And the ride by the numbers, in total, we covered 130 miles with 5,177 feet of climbing.